Hey, what's going on, everybody? What's going on? Welcome back. Welcome back to another live stream here. Pigskin Addicts back again with another live stream. And again, kind of just like how it was last week, there's a lot of information swirling around. I could get some, I can do some videos and things like that, but I think it's way more streamlined. The process is much, much easier when I come on here and just do a live stream. So that's what I'm going to be doing from now on, I think, especially during this off season. And before I get into it, let's get some housekeeping stuff out of the way. If you guys haven't seen my posts in the community tab, these live streams that I will be doing, obviously you can watch them here live. You can catch them live. But they will be available here on YouTube as well under the podcast section. And then I'm going to make these live streams available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well too. So just audio form. If you're into just listening without video, right? If you're at work or something, that's what I do. Pretty much when I'm at work, I just listen to podcasts. I don't need the video. I just need to hear the audio, and it's normally good. So that's where we're at here. So I am uh happy, very excited to do that. And yeah, so I just wanted to let you guys know the podcast form stuff is coming audio only. Well, it is here, so I will just continue adding to the list, keep adding to the playlist. It's here. And I'm trying my best. Right? I'm a one man team, but I'm trying my best to branch out, do some more collaborations, right? Maybe do some other things, right? I'm in the process of working on a lot of that stuff. Yeah, so I'm not gonna reveal everything, but there is some stuff coming up. I want to keep the channel fun and fresh, right? I don't want it to be just monotonous, me getting on here making videos, you seeing my face every day, right? The same type of stuff. I want to change it up a little bit, and give you guys, a change of pace every now and then. I think it's good. And I think it's something that is going to be successful. And I think it's stuff that you guys like. You guys seem to like the collaboration with the collaboration we did the other day, the Lightning Round podcast. So there's more collaborations on the way. Trying to get some things scheduled right now as we speak, but there's going to be more and more stuff on the way. So just be aware of that. It's coming. So thank you guys so much for all the support. So I just wanted to get that out of the way before I get into all of this stuff. Everybody in the chat, what's up? What's going on? Thank you guys for joining me. Yeah, man, it's this free agency period has been a very interesting time for the Chargers. It's been quiet, very, very quiet, but it's still been interesting, right? There's still a lot of questions, lot of questions to really address, right? A lot of things to address, a lot of inactivity that's going on that is worrisome if you're a Charger fan, and I'm going to get into that a little bit here. So first thing, the very, very first thing that I wanted to get into was the Drew Tranquill contract situation, right? So in looking at everything that happened, right, with the Drew Tranquill contract situation, I don't know if you guys are on Twitter or if you guys are just looking at things around the internet. There was conflicting information that came out about the Drew Tranquill thing. Now, that was one of the main things that I asked the Lightning Round podcast guys, because they do have some inside information, and they did report that the Chargers made Drew Tranquill a deal. And to me, it made sense, right? Everything makes sense. You have this guy, Drew Tranquill, right? Last year was his first real season starting at the linebacker position, where he got starter snaps. And he had a really good season, right? This was his first season starting, and he had a really good season, and he stayed relatively healthy throughout the season as well, too. That's something that you should know, right? As a linebacker, he stayed relatively healthy. That was his second straight season staying healthy after the torn ACL in 2020. So, he gets points for that, right? So the Chargers, according to Jamie and according to Garrett, right, of the Lightning Round podcast, the Chargers offered Drew Tranquill a 2-year deal. I have it right here. It was 2 years, $12.5 million total on the deal, and about 8 to 9 million was going to be guaranteed. So pretty much the first year is guaranteed, and then about half of that second year is guaranteed. or little more than half of the second year is guaranteed. So the Chargers were looking to lock down Drew Tranquill for the long term. They were looking to lock him down. Now, when Tranquill seen these numbers, right, basically it averages out to 6.5 million a year annual average. I think when he was going into free agency, and this is nothing that's been confirmed, but what I heard is that he was looking upwards of $8 to $8.5 million annual average for him, right? So the Chargers deal was a little below the average that he was looking for. So he wasn't happy with what the Chargers offered him. So he went to, go talk to other teams, right, to see what his market was outside of the Chargers. That's what he did. Now, his market outside of the Chargers was nowhere near that 8 to 8.5 million that he was looking for. So when he was done looking around and when he was done, searching for a deal that was going to suit him and his needs, he ended up signing with the Kansas City Chiefs on the cheap, right? Because the Chargers, they obviously didn't have the same offer for him. The Chargers, what I've heard and everything that I've heard, I've checked around on this. Everything that I've heard, the Chargers were budgeting money for Drew Tranquill. What they wanted to do, though, they wanted to see what his market value was outside of the team. So they pretty much encouraged him, yeah, go look around and see what your market value is, right? Because we're not offering you $8 to $8.5 million, but no other team is offering you that as well, too. So you can get a look at what your market is. He didn't like it, and he ended up signing with the Chiefs on the cheap. Now, there was conflicting information, right? And I know exactly where it came from, right? I know exactly where it came from. If you guys, follow anybody on Chargers Twitter, if you follow some bigger, Charger podcasts like Twitter pages and stuff, you would know where some of this information came from. But this information is not true. That the Chargers didn't offer Drew Tranquill a deal. They offered him a deal, and there's still some of this going around. And I still seen some of this just yesterday on Twitter where people were talking. I can't believe the Chargers didn't offer Drew Tranquill a deal. They offered him a deal. It was a deal that he didn't like. People need to get this through their heads. They offered him a deal, and even when you think about it as well, too, it doesn't even think about it logically from a logical standpoint. It doesn't even make sense why the Chargers wouldn't offer Drew Tranquill the deal and give Eric Kendricks a deal right out of the gate, right? It doesn't make sense. You're not going to offer Drew Tranquill a deal. So now you go and sign an older linebacker, right? An older linebacker. And when it comes to older linebackers, whether or not a guy has stayed healthy throughout his entire career, I'm not going to say it doesn't matter, but the risk is there, right? The risk is there for injury. The risk is there for decline play, right? There's a lot of questions. It's not just a plug and play thing, right? There's some question marks, and Eric Kendricks is going to have the opportunity to prove everybody wrong on that. But there's still question when you're signing a guy who's played a lot of football, who has, made a lot of tackles in his career, who has, been in several hundred collisions in his career, right? When you go out and you give that money to an older player, it doesn't make sense why you wouldn't offer the younger player who can play in your system, right? You know that he can play in your defensive system. He had a good year last year, obviously best year of his career, and he showed himself to be one of the best blitzing inside middle linebackers, right? That's something that is needed around the league, right? You always need guys who can blitz, right? Get to the quarterback, make tackles for losses, right? That's something that any team could use. So it doesn't make sense for the Chargers, right? And that story, it doesn't make sense for them to just let him walk scot-free, no offer, and then go out and sign an older player, right? Who, again, the injury risk grows as you get older into the league, right? Older players are normally more injured. They need more time to heal, all of that stuff. We know all of this. So it doesn't make sense for the Chargers to not offer him a contract. So to me, it didn't make sense when I heard it. And now that I have, checked with several different people who know more information about this, right? Now that I've checked with them, I know that they did offer him the contract. He was just displeased with the number. So when you're looking at this situation, right? I initially, and I even said it on Twitter, right? I said, hey, I'm wrong, right? And I've always said that I can come on here and say that I'm wrong when I'm wrong. If I tweet something and I'm wrong about it, I can go back and say, yeah, you know what? I was wrong about it. And I was wrong about the situation because immediately what did I do? I immediately went to Tom Telesco. I immediately went to Staley, the Chargers asked, and I blamed them for not even offering him a contract, right? When it wasn't true at all. They offered him a contract, and just by the looks of free agency, if Drew Tranquill would have took that contract, it would have been a damn good contract for him, because I don't know if you guys seen the Lightning Round podcast. When I did the collaboration with the Lightning Round podcast, we talked about how the NFL, the owners, all of these teams, they seem hell bent on creating a mid-level market, right? That's why they're not dishing out a lot of big money, right? You see deals for really good players, right? The Tranquill deal, right? He took a very, very minimal deal. Dalton Schultz, right? He turned down a way bigger deal to take a lesser deal. Orlando Brown, right? The tackle, former tackle of the Chiefs. All of these guys, they turned down a lot of money. They turned down huge extensions to get out on the open market and for them to get paid significantly less than their extensions that they were offered, right? So you look at those guys, we talked about that. We talked about them, the NFL trying to make a mid-level market, and that's pretty much what they did this offseason. So if Drew Tranquill took this deal that the Chargers offered him, right, it looked like it would have been one of the better deals of this mid-level market area, right? And then you look at it in another 2 years, he would have been a free agent. So if he continued to ball, if he would have made a Pro Bowl, right, possibly all pro or something like that, he could have continued to ball and he could have really parlayed this into a huge payday, right? A very big extension, 3-4 year extension, whatever, for a lot more money. But what he did, he took the deal in Kansas City, and now he's really going to be, probably a third down, maybe a third down linebacker, right? I'm sure there's going to be some packages that he will be in the game. He rushes the passer very well from the inside. I think Steve Spagnuolo can use him. Spagnuolo is a very, very seasoned defensive coordinator in Kansas City. He's a Super Bowl winning defensive coordinator, so he can definitely do something with Drew Tranquill. But I think all of his incentives, he's not going to play enough, especially if Willie Gay and Nick Bolton don't get hurt. Those are two of the best linebackers in the game. So you're not going to be starting week one, but he can find his spots, right? And if he can make some plays while he's in the game, whenever he does play, right, in the snaps that he will get, I think he can really set himself up to get another, another opportunity at a bigger payday. But it's nothing like him playing a 2-year contract out with the Chargers, balling, right, being a starter, playing starter snaps, having his stats be up there, right, having his highlight packages look really, really good. It's nothing like that. So he's going to lose out on some money, and he left some money off the table. And I'm sure he's not happy about that. But at this point, right, he made his decision and he has to move on. But I just wanted to come on here and clarify that, because I still see people talking about, I can't believe the Chargers didn't offer Drew Tranquill a contract. They offered him a contract. He didn't like it. Most of these guys are not liking their mid-level type of deals that they are getting. And, even the guys who are free agents right now, right, it's going to come a point where they're going to have to accept something, right, or sit out a year or accept something. So, all of these guys, they're not in positions to really, make salary demands at this point right now, right? They're just going to have to fit in, especially as free agency goes along. All of the big money has been given out. All of these teams are not giving out any more big money, unless a superstar hits the market, which is unlikely at this point. But the teams are giving out the money. The money's already gone. So now you have to pretty much get in where you fit in. And I think that's what Drew Tranquill did. That's what Orlando Brown did. And, some of these other guys, they're going to have to make these decisions. Most of these guys are going to be on 1-year deals, 1-year prove-it deals. And, that's just the way the ball is bouncing this free agency. You can't really, fault anybody, right? All you can just say is that, hey, the NFL is probably colluding, right? Some of these teams are probably colluding because everybody's on the same page here. They want to make a mid-level market, which, isn't the worst thing in the world, but, the players are getting the short end of the stick here. And, we got into more detail on this when I collaborated with the Lightning Round podcast a couple of days ago. So check that out if you want to get, more information on it. But I just wanted to come on here and cover that and just make sure that everybody knows that we offered Drew Tranquill a contract extension. The Chargers did. So if you see any of that stuff going out there, it's false. The Chargers did. Somebody reported some bad information and they possibly just don't want to look wrong now, right? It happens all the time, when Adam Schefter or somebody, they report bad information. sometimes they'll just go ghost, right? They'll just go ghost and just not say anything. And I think that's what's going on in this situation here. But be advised, the Chargers did offer Drew Tranquill a pretty fair market value contract. He turned it down, and he's moved on. So as he moved on, we will move on. Now, the next topic I want to get to, John Johnson. Again, if you guys didn't watch or listen to the collaboration with the Lightning Round podcast, those guys, they convinced me that John Johnson, a potential John Johnson signing, could really be beneficial to the Chargers. And, I really, really do think he could be beneficial to the Chargers. But I think at this point right now, because it hasn't happened yet, I don't know what the chances are of it. John Johnson could be a Charger, but he's been out on the market for about a week now. The Chargers haven't, from what I've heard, no offer has been made. I think the two sides are talking, but no offer has been made, so we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. He is a free agent. He's an unrestricted free agent. So other teams are probably talking to him as well, too. I think he's being patient. I think he wants to play for Brandon Staley. He had one of his best years of his career under Brandon Staley in 2020 with the Rams. So I think he's being patient, but I think the Chargers, the lack of movement on their side to really get him signed, to get him under contract, I think it's going to make him really have to, it's going to force him to look at other places. I really think that that's going to happen. He's going to have to look at other places now, because the Chargers are just they're not aggressive enough trying to pursue him. I don't know what the Chargers are planning to do with the rest of the salary cap money, but it's clear that they want John Johnson on the cheap. They want him on the really, really cheap, and they're hoping that he's going to be around for a while because there hasn't been any real movement, any real progress made there. So we'll see what happens, right? Maybe some progress can get made over the next few days, right? Hell, maybe today, right? Maybe they can announce it tomorrow, but we don't know. It just hasn't happened yet. If it was going to happen, right, when there's interest on both sides, normally, you can get an agreement pretty quickly. But I don't know. I don't know if the Chargers see something. Maybe it's his medical history or something. There's something going on there that is not being reported as of yet. Right now, there's something going on, and it's something that is keeping the deal from going. Right, this deal should have happened a few days ago, actually. So there's something there. I don't know what it is. Hopefully I can find out what it is, but there's something there that's keeping those two sides apart, because when you go into the weekend, right, if a deal doesn't happen by this weekend, right, coming out of the weekend, right, going into next Monday and all of this stuff, I think John Johnson is probably going to have to look at other places, because just for him to have a 1-year prove-it deal, right, it's great and all of that stuff, but the longer he waits, right, the less and less money these teams are going to have, right? Teams are still making some signings, not big money signings, but teams are still, they're giving out some money. A lot of teams, their salary cap is, starting to shrink and shrink and shrink. So he's going to have to make a decision for himself here pretty soon. I don't know if he just wants to sit around and wait on the Chargers. Maybe he does. If he does do that, that'll be great. But, I just don't see that, right? If you're a player, you're unsigned, you want to continue playing football. I think he's only 27, 28 years old. You want to continue playing. You want to continue making money. You want to continue to get that NFL check, right? You got to sign here pretty soon. So I don't know. I don't know if it's going to happen. I don't know what the Chargers are looking to do. To me, they're holding on to this cap space here that they have, and to me, it seems like a move might be underway, possibly a trade. You have to have some type of salary cap space, right, to match salaries. I think the Chargers are looking at moving Austin Ekeler. I honestly think that's what they're doing. I think they're talking to other teams. Whether or not it happens, I don't know. I think it's unlikely, but I think that they're keeping that space there. I think they're keeping it open just in case. They're keeping it open just in case, because they know sooner or later we're going to have to make a move, right? We're going to have to make a move, especially if Austin Ekeler, if he's sitting out in camp and all of this stuff, it becomes a story. He's already done the podcast, right? This is already a story out there. He can continue to make it a story if he keeps talking. I think that they are choosing to hold that cap space right now in case they can get something going. That's the only thing that I see, because the Chargers should be, John Johnson is right there. And because they haven't made that signing, To me, it seems like it is low on their list of priorities. So we'll see what happens. We will see what happens with that. Let's see. Let me go to the yeah, Matt says, don't forget to leave a like on the stream. Yes, please hit a like for the YouTube algorithms, please. I appreciate that. Andrew Lim says, we are still lack of speed. They haven't been active on getting an offensive player at all. Yeah, that seems to be it. They better address that in the draft. That's all I can say. They have to address it in the draft. There's not even enough receivers on this roster as of yet. There's only 3 real receivers on this roster that are going to play, right? The other receivers, if you go to the Chargers.com, you look at the roster, there's receivers on the roster. Those guys are practice squad guys or guys who will be cut in training camp. There's only 3 real receivers on this roster right now. Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, and Josh Palmer. Those are the only 3 guys who are going to play. And then, looking at last year, right? Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, right? Injury history, right? There is some risk associated there. So the Chargers really need to obviously address the wide receiver position. I don't know. I really don't know what's going on with that. I do know that they better address it in the draft, though. They need to draft multiple receivers, not just one. They need multiple receivers, to fill out this wide receiver room. That is a area of need that the Chargers have, and they desperately need wide receivers at this point right now. So yeah, they must address that. Matt says we can use another defensive end to rotate in for Mack and Bosa. Yeah, we do, and I've and yeah, Blaine said bring Kyle Van Noy back, and I've advocated they should bring Kyle Van Noy back. It's not going to cost a lot. He ain't going to cost a lot. He'll be like $3 million. To me, if there's an area of priority, right, it's wide receiver and this edge. Those are the positions that really now. John, I think Johnson would be I don't say a luxury player, but I think Alohi Gilman can hold down the free safety position. I think he can. To me, he's gotten better every single season that he's been in the league. I think he can hold it down. I don't think you really need anybody else special in that position, but I think he can hold it down. If we're in an era of priority, wide receiver and edge, those are the 2 positions that the Chargers need desperately. Wide receiver and edge. Another safety is not really, to me, it's not crucial. Some people think that the Chargers really need it, but I don't know. I think you obviously need a wide receiver. You need speed. You need that element of speed, right, to get downfield. You need that somewhere on offense. You wanted that wide receiver, so you need that, and then you also need. We seen what happened last year. Joey Bosa was out most of the year, right? Khalil Mack was pretty much out there by himself, right? Van Noy did a pretty good job, especially down the stretch. So I think Van Noy should come back. He provides a lot of insurance at that position, and he's pretty cheap as well, too. So I would like to see him come back. I really would like to see him come back. Jake Davidson said, do you think we could still pair Bobby Wagner with Eric Kendricks? Staley isn't a fan of K9. I don't think many of us are. He can't be a starter. No, I don't think so, because Bobby Wagner is still. He had a good year last year with the Rams. I know the Rams weren't good, but he can still play, right? He can still play. He still did everything at the Bobby Wagner level, so he could still play. So I don't think he's not going to be cheap. He's one of the guys I think that is waiting to sign somewhere. I don't think he's going to be cheap. I think wherever he signs is probably like a 1 year, like $10 million deal or something like that. I don't think he's not a $4 to $5 million player. There's no way that he'll accept that, especially coming off the year that he had. There's no way he'll accept that, and there's no way the Chargers can afford that. They can make some cuts and stuff like that, but I don't think I don't think it would be to bring in Bobby Wagner. I would be shocked if that happened. I wouldn't be against it at all, but I would be shocked if that happened. I don't think that they have. I don't think they have that money to bring Bobby Wagner in. If they were going to do that, they probably would have tried to bring him in instead of Eric Kendricks. But again, his demands are going to be way more than anybody else out there on the market at this point right now. When the Rams signed him last year, they signed him to like a 5-year, $50 million contract. So his annual average was $10 million. That's probably where he's going to be looking at coming this season. So there are some teams who could pay him that, but maybe on a 1-year deal or something like that. But the Chargers are out of it. I don't think they have enough space for it, and I just don't. I don't think it happens. To me, I don't think it works financially. But I would love to have a Bobby Wagner though. He's really good. Spending much money on defense, we need more weapons for Herbert. I agree. I definitely agree. Definitely agree with that. Um, yeah, I mean, hope all we can hope is that they address it in the draft. That's really all we can hope for. Um, C9 says, how do you see Kellen Moore utilizing Ekeler? I can see Josh Kelly getting more touches and a lot less receptions from Ekeler. I think they use him the way that they used Tony Pollard last year. Now I do think Tony Pollard he's bigger. He's a bigger athlete than Ekeler is. He's bigger and he's faster. He's explosive. He has a lot of breakaway speed. You see him, over the past couple of seasons, right? He's got several touchdowns over like 40 or 50 yards, right? And that's receiving and rushing as well, too. But I think you use Ekeler the same way you use Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard had over 1,000 yards in 2022, and he didn't even have that many carries as well, too. His average was really high. His average was like over 4. I want to say it was like 4.5, 4.6 or something like that. So his average per carry was getting close to 5 yards. He was very, very explosive, and they didn't need to hand him the ball 30, 40 times to get the best out of him. So I would think that they use Ekeler in the same way. I also think that they use Josh Kelly, possibly Isaiah Spiller as well too. That two-back system works very, very good. It worked well for the Cowboys. They used Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott. Zeke was the quote-unquote starter, but Tony Pollard got the most snaps, right? And his stats obviously outweigh Zeke by a lot, right? Receiving and rushing. So if you use him the same way you use Tony Pollard, you're going to get the most out of Ekeler. I do think that Ekeler needs to be better as a runner, especially between the 20s. I think, in the red zone, he is a guy. He's very good in the red zone, right? He's strong. But I think between the 20s, he needs to become a better runner, especially between the tackles. I expect that. I expect Kellen Moore to bring that element to LA, that running element. That's something that they did very well in Dallas. And when you watch the film, you see both guys, right? Even Zeke too. Like we've seen that Zeke wasn't he wasn't what he used to be, but when you watch the film and when you watch what he was able to do, right? He was still getting 3 to 4 yards a carry, right? Still getting tough yards. Now, obviously, he was getting paid way too much money for the production that he was given, right? But when played sparingly, Zeke was still pretty. He was still pretty okay with the Cowboys last year, right? So I think that Kellen Moore can get the most out of this running game with the running backs on this roster right now. Now, if Ekeler trade does happen and he does go somewhere else, then you're going to have to, obviously be John Robinson in the draft. Maybe that becomes a possibility. But at this point right now, I think Kellen Moore can get the most out of this running game by utilizing all three backs that the Chargers have now. All of these guys, they bring something different to the table, and I think he's most out of it. This running game could be, a running back by committee type of thing, right? Whoever has the hot end. So I'm excited for what he's going to do with this running game. I think he can use Ekeler really, really well, though, just like how he used Tony Pollard. Kamari says, I think turning Drew into Ek is still a downgrade. Turning Drew into Ek. What does that mean? I'm sorry, I don't catch that. Turning Drew into Ek is still a downgrade. If you can clarify that, I'm not sure what you mean by that. Maybe it's just me reading it wrong, but I don't. If you can clarify it. Are we going to bring Guyton back? He at least has chemistry with Herbert on the deep part of the field. I would think so. I thought so, but I mean, it's been how long has free agency started? The 15th, right? Officially started the 15th. The legal tampering period started last Monday, I believe. Last Tuesday. So it's been almost 10 days. So I don't know. I don't know if the Chargers bring him back. I would hope that they do. He is a speed threat and he is going to be cheap as well too. He's still a free agent out there right now. So if the Chargers do have plans to bring him back, I would think that they would, probably try to bring him back before the draft. That way they know they have another receiver, in the room, right? So there's four actual receivers that are going to play on game day. Now they can, kind of be more strategic in the draft, right? What wide receiver do you really, really like? Who do you want to take, right? And maybe they just take one receiver if they re-sign Jalen Guyton. If they don't resign Jalen Guyton, you have to take multiple receivers in the draft, multiple rookies. And I don't know if that's something that they want to do, but I don't know. They've really boxed themselves into a corner with the way that they've managed the roster. This hasn't been good roster management, especially at the wide receiver position, especially when you have Justin Herbert as your quarterback. This is puzzling to me. I don't understand the way that they are managing this, but man, I don't I don't know, man. I don't know. I think to me it just seems like they're going rogue. It seems like they're going all out, and I know that they're not going rogue. They need owner permission before they do anything and make all these moves. But I think that they're really, focused, and the tunnel vision is clear. They want to get something out of this defense. They want to continue to build this defense. They want to get something out of. They want to make this defense a great defense, and it's clear with the moves that they've made, and offense is kind of secondary to them right now, and it doesn't make sense when you have one of the best quarterbacks in the league. But we'll see how this plays out, because this has all of the makings to be a disaster. And I said this a couple of months ago, even before all of these moves, and now that I see what's went on clearly right in free agency, this has the makings of a disaster on defense, even on offense, right? Especially when you bring injuries into it. This has disaster written all over it if the Chargers are not careful, and they kind of haven't been in free agency. So we'll see what happens. We will see what happens. I don't know, man. It just, I don't know. I hope that they bring them back, but we'll see. We'll see. Let's see. I was going to go here. Optimus Rhyme says the Chargers need to draft for players they're going to play. JT Woods was drafted and did nothing. That Carr's got 3 sacks out of Cameron Thomas, right? And that's going to be the thing as well, too. So we'll know a lot more with this draft. This is why I think this, and like, just a little sidebar, right? Who the hell needs reality TV when you have the Chargers? I cannot wait for this draft. I cannot wait. I honestly cannot wait for this draft, because this draft is going to tell us everything that we need to know about the mindset of Brandon Staley, about the mindset of Tom Telesco, because to me, they are operating in desperation. Both these guys are operating in desperation. They're operating to save their jobs, to do enough to save their jobs. To me, they're not operating to win. And that's been one of my biggest problems. That's why I criticize Staley all the time. That's why I'm going to continue criticizing Staley and Tom Telesco, especially if free agency continues to go this way. They need to build. You need to get weapons around your quarterback. And to me, it just seems like they are not interested in that at all. They're interested in legacy names, right? They're interested in big names. They're interested in legacy, what guys have done in the past and not what's going to happen in the future. Like I said before, we've seen the best of Khalil Mack. They decided to bring him back, right? They could have cut him post June 1st. It would have been a $4 million cap hit, and they would have saved, I don't know how much more money. They decided to bring him back, right? And they're going to have to cut him next year because his salary cap hit is about $38 million, right? Close to $40 million for a 33, 34-year-old Khalil Mack. You obviously can't do that, right? You obviously cannot do that. Good teams wouldn't do this. But when you're operating out of desperation and when you only know one thing, and this is the thing about Staley that gets me, right? Everybody wants all of his old players. If he's a good defensive coach, he can coach up new players to play defense well as well, too, right? You don't see Bill Belichick just, saying, oh, just bring back players that have only played for me. No, he takes guys out of college. He takes undrafted free agents, a la J.C. Jackson, turns them into stars, right? He can do that because he's a good defensive coach, right? Great defensive coach. Brandon Staley is not there. The only guys who really produce under Staley are guys that have played for him with the Rams, right? And yes, it's all good and dandy, but turn somebody else into a star, right? Improve Kenneth Murray, right? Make Kenneth Murray a star, right? Improve all these other guys who didn't play for you in LA. If you can do that, then you can be considered a good defensive coach. He doesn't do that, though. So now we're just looking to have, LA Rams reunions on the 2023 Chargers and hoping that this defense gets better. And for me, there's nothing there. There's nothing to me that says that this defense is going to get better. There's nothing. There's nothing that says that. Everybody, we're hoping and wishing. I talk about this on the channel all the time. Hoping and wishing, hoping and wishing. We hope the defense is going to get better. We hope it's going to get better. Now we have 35 games. We have a 35-game sample size to know that the Chargers defense can't stop anybody as far as the run, right? Good teams, bad teams, it doesn't matter. Everybody, can run on the Chargers. That's obviously been, one of the biggest issues, right? And now you get to a place where you have Bosa, you have Mac, you have some of these older players, right? You're an injury away from everything going downhill. And this is all predicated on guys on defense. Not the way that I would build, but they're operating out of desperation. It's clear desperation, and to me, it's just things can go bad. Things can go very, very bad. I'm hoping that it doesn't, but things can go bad. They can definitely go bad. Who are some players you would want the Chargers to draft at 21? Well, right now, obviously edge is something that I'm looking at. I think the Chargers they're going to have to address the offense. And I see a lot of people saying that we need to address the offense. But here's the thing, right? Here's the thing at number 21. You cannot arbitrarily draft an offensive guy who doesn't have a clear path to being your number one receiver in the future. And I'm just talking about, the receivers or a tight end or whatever, right? You can't just arbitrarily draft somebody because you need them, right? What is their long-term going to be? Is this somebody that Kellen Moore can work with on offense, right? Can they develop them into somebody, right? And I'm talking receiver, tight end, right? Pass catching positions. You don't just want to draft anybody and have that be a bust, right? Because if, let's say, the Chargers do take a Zay Flowers or a Jalen Hyatt, right? These are guys, small guys, who typically are not in any other draft. These guys are not first round picks. They're not first round talents, right? They're early second round, late second round, whatever, right? Most of these guys are not going to be number one receivers. They're small. There's a lot of guys in this draft playing receiver that weigh under 185 pounds. And to me, that's nuts. That's crazy. You cannot be a number one receiver in this league when that little. It doesn't work, right? Historically, it doesn't work. And there's people who talk about Antonio Brown and who else was not a big receiver. There's Steve Smith and all that. Those guys are outliers, right? They're outliers. You don't see guys like that every year. So unless you're a burner, unless you're a Jalen Waddle with 4.2 speed, it's hard. It's hard to draft a small guy at wide receiver. So to me, I think there's a lot of talent at the edge position. I think Nolan Smith, if he was to drop, and I don't think he's going to drop, but he would be my pick. Another guy that I'm going to cover, I'm going to make a video on him, is Lucas Van Ness from Iowa, the defensive end. I really, really like him, and there's a chance that he might be available at 21. So for me, I would go, if there's an edge that you like, that you really, really like that's available, I would go there. Wide receiver, if there's a wide receiver that drops, that can, that has, the potential, the ability to be your future number one wide receiver, I would take him. To me, it's not exact science, right? There's not a super big area of need that the Chargers have, really. Obviously, outside of safety, and you can use some depth at cornerback and stuff like that. But to me, I think edge, wide receiver, right? Best players available at those positions, right? I know a lot of people say the best player available at the time, but best player at positions of need. So best player at edge, right? Best player with the highest ceiling, right? Highest, future prospects to be a number one wide receiver, right? At the receiver position. Just the best available at whatever position that you need. To me, that's where I would go. But let's see. I told you guys, it's been the way that the Chargers have been operating this offseason. To me, it lets me know that they are in desperation mode. And again, tunnel vision, right? They're kind of looking at this defense. And to me, if you're going to draft somebody on defense, it's got to be an edge. It's got to be somebody who can come in, make some plays. They're going to play this year, right? Even though they'll be edge 3 on the depth chart, they will play this year. There's a good chance that either Khalil Mack or Joey Bosa could go down with the injury, right? Both guys have played a lot of football. Both guys are Khalil Mack not in prone, but he's played a lot of football. His body could be breaking down. Same thing with Bosa. So this is a guy who needs to come in and make some plays this year. Should be ready to play. So whoever it is, they need to be ready to play this year. That's all I can say. They need to be ready to play. So yeah, it's hard. It's hard to predict this, but yeah, whoever it is should be ready to play. What's your prediction of this year? It's too early, man. It's way too early. Way too early to determine that. We'll have to see what happens offensively. We'll have to see what happens with the draft. We'll have to see what happens. All I know is that we're starting off right. The last year, we had a lot of hype. The Chargers won the offseason. This year is not that. It's not that. The fans are not letting this happen. I see it all the time. It's just not happening. We'll believe it when we see it. We need to see something. So it's too early to tell right now. But I just, as far as the direction goes of what the Chargers are doing right now, I don't like it. I honestly don't like it. But I also recognize that this could be the last hurrah for Staley. This could be the last hurrah for Telesco. And there could be a brand new brain trust in order. In tow for 2024. So who knows? But it's too early to tell. Way too early to tell. Oh, EK is Eric Kendricks. Oh, okay. So she was talking about Kendricks. Okay, yeah. It is a downgrade. It's to me, it's a downgrade. I think the best football, Drew Tranquill's best football is ahead of him, and Eric Kendricks' best football is behind him. So it's just an age thing to me. But Tranquill turned the money down. So you can't really be mad at the Chargers there. That was a decision that Drew Tranquill made. Nobody else made him make that. So it was strictly on him. Should have traded for Elijah Moore. Yes, I agree. Especially when you see what he went for. Crazy, man. Crazy. The Chargers could have easily made that trade. Easily made that trade. And you could have got a guy who explosive down the field, right? He can get 1,000 yards in a season. Elijah Moore with the right quarterback, he's a 1,000-yard receiver. Easy. They could have traded for that, but they didn't. So, that we're used to it as Charger fans. We're used to it. So nothing special, right? Nothing that is nothing that's out of the ordinary for Tom Telesco and this Charger organization. They miss out on trades all the time. It is what it is. They don't care, right? They don't care, especially this year. They're tunnel vision. It's all about defense. They think that they're going to get something out of this defense. We'll see. Only time will tell. But I don't feel good about it. I really, really, really don't feel good about it. Kamari Cummings has already been a disaster. Staley ruined this team. I agree. And until we see something different, you can't fault anybody for thinking that way. So again, I don't like the direction of this team. I really don't. I really don't like the direction of this team at all. KJ says we need suddenness at wide receiver. So speed is whatever. Yeah, I agree. I agree. We need suddenness, and speed doesn't really make that much of a difference. Like as far as 40 times don't make all that much of a difference. They just don't. And a lot of people don't understand this. Like, and I was just explaining this to my wife the other day, actually. 40 times are misleading, right? 40 times are misleading. When you watch tape on a Jalen Hyatt from Tennessee, he plays way faster than the 4.42 or whatever that he ran. He plays way faster than that. When you watch tape on Jordan Addison from USC, he ran like a 4.53 or something like that. He plays way faster than that as well, too. So you can't really put too much. You can't bank too much on 40 times. I think a lot of teams really are. Tyreek Hill has kind of ruined this for everybody because when he came into the league, right, I think he ran like a 4.24 or something like that at the combine. Blazing speed, obviously. He plays at every bit of that 4.24. So now everybody has been looking for the next Tyreek Hill. That's why John Ross was a first-round pick, right? You guys remember John Ross ran the fastest 40 time ever at a 4.22, but he couldn't run routes, right? He wasn't a football player, right? He's a fast guy, but he's not an NFL football player. That's why he flamed out and he's not in the league anymore. And that was just 5 or 6 years ago. He's not in the league anymore at all. And yes, he's speed, but you have to be able to understand the wide receiver position, right? Leverage, being able to sit in zones, right? Being able to get open against zone coverage, stuff like that. Being able to run really, really crisp routes, right? Kind of like Keenan Allen does. You have to be able to do all of that stuff, right? It's much, much more than speed. And people talk about this all the time, and I'm surprised. I'm surprised that it doesn't get talked about more, right? Who leads the NFL? Who's the all-time leader in the NFL in 50-plus yard touchdowns? It is Jerry Rice. And I think Jerry Rice ran a 4.66 or 4.67 or something like that at his pro day when he was getting drafted. He ran a 4.6, but he leads the NFL in 50-plus yard touchdowns. And Jerry Rice clearly played the game faster than a 4.6. You go back and look at all his highlights. He's running away from everybody. He's running away from some of the fastest guys in the league. Some of these running away from Deion Sanders, running away from Darrell Green. These guys are fast speed guys, right? Actual track fast speed, world-class speed. Jerry Rice was running past these dudes on a regular basis, right? So it matters how you play. It's not about what you run in the 40, right? It's about how you play. Do you play faster than your 40 time? And that's what the Chargers need. They need somebody that plays faster than their 40 time. Because as of right now, everybody, and the Chargers have good receivers, right? Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, Josh Palmer. That's a good trio of receivers. But every single one of these guys plays at their 40 time, right? None of these guys can really break the game open for you. They can run crisp routes. They can sit down in zone coverage, right? They can run really clean routes, right? They can get open. They have good chemistry with Herbert, right? But they don't have the ability to break the game open. That's what you need, right? Even if you have a guy that runs a 4.5 or whatever, like a Jordan Addison. If Jordan Addison gets the ball and he gets behind you, right, you're not going to catch him. You're just not going to catch him. He has shown that speed on tape. He's much faster than that 4.5 that he runs in the 40. So when you're looking at a guy like that, you can that can definitely work with the Chargers. So it's not just about the 40 times. You don't just need a guy that runs a 4.2 that can't play football, because he don't do you any good. You need a guy that is fast, that plays fast when the helmets and pads are on, not just fast on the field running 40s, right? I need a guy that's fast when the helmet, the pads are on, when the play is called, and he can run past people. That's what you're looking for. That's what you're looking for. So it's not necessarily just the time, your 40 time, right? How do you play? And tape shows you exactly who does that, who can do that. That's why I made the video last week about Trey Palmer. Trey Palmer coming out of Nebraska, 4.33 at the combine, and he plays that way. He's a bigger receiver. Now he's going to be available in the 3rd round, right? He's a bigger receiver for this draft class, right? Not in the grand scheme of things, but for this draft class, he's bigger than most guys, 6 feet, almost 200 pounds, runs a 4.33, can run all the routes, can do all of that stuff, right? But he can take the top off the defense. He can run past people. And that's what you need, right? But he's also a pretty damn good receiver as well, too. He's not just a speed merchant. He's a receiver. So, I like him. I really, really like him. I think he'll be available in the 3rd round. Depending on, the run wide receivers in the draft, he could even drop to the 4th round. So the Chargers could get a value pick there, but it's unlikely. I'm not getting my hopes up for that. Ryan says, no, Kendricks is an upgrade. And so I've seen some people say that. And he could be. He could be. I'm not against that at all. He could be. But I'm just saying, when you look at the NFL, right, when players get older, they don't get better. And Kendricks is 31. And when you're looking at a guy who has played the middle linebacker position, who has, like I said, had hundreds of maybe possibly thousands of collisions by this time, right? When this is his 9th year in the league, right? So possibly thousands of collisions. It does something to your body, right? You can be as sharp as you want to as far as your mind goes, but it does something to your body. The grind of a 17-game season really, really does something to your body. That's why you look at Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack flamed out. He flamed out, towards the back end of the season because he's old. He's old. Right. And I don't think he had a specific injury or anything like that. But the grind, the wear and tear on your body, it does something to you, man. And you cannot especially going down the stretch of the season, right? Week 14, week 15, you can't perform like you used to. So that's what I am worried about with the Eric Kendrick signing. I'm not really worried about him, knowing the defense and all of that stuff. He's done that, right? He's been a Pro Bowler. I think he's been an All Pro as well too. So he's a guy. He's very, very talented, right? But I just want to know if he has a lot left in the tank, or even if he just has a little bit left in the tank for this. And if he has left in the tank for the season, I'm good. No complaints from me. But it's just when you get the older players, that comes with older players. That's an issue that comes with older players. Wear and tear. The wear and tear. That's just what it is. And Khalil Mack is a perfect example of that. Khalil Mack's a perfect example of it. He, again, 3 sacks week 1, right? 5 sacks through the rest of the 16-game season. The wear and tear of the NFL has got to him. He's not the same player that he used to be. So I just don't want Eric Kendricks to come to LA and start looking like a shell of himself. That's what you have to stay away from. And that's what comes with signing older players, right? It's a caution. It's a caution that comes with it. Now, if he can still play and all of that stuff, everything that I'm saying don't matter at all. It goes all the way out the window. But it is something that you should, have in the back of your mind with older players. They don't get better and they don't get healthier, right? They get worse and they get, more hurt as your career progresses. So we'll see what happens. I'm holding out some hope that he could be really, really good for us. But it's just something that you should keep in mind when you sign older players. Tight end or defensive tackle, first round, second round edge, third round middle linebacker, fourth round wide receiver. No, you can't have a defensive tackle. No way you draft a defensive tackle in the first round. I don't think that would be smart at all. There's no way. There's absolutely no way. No way you can draft a defensive lineman in the first round. Chargers spent a lot of money on that position last year, and they're going to be paying guys until 2025. So drafting one right now, it just, to me, it doesn't make any sense, especially when you have holes on offense and you need an edge player as well. Just, to me, it doesn't work. It doesn't work at all. Somebody said, how did Staley ruin this team? The defense is trash. This defense sucks. He's had 35 games, and this defense hasn't gotten better at all. It hasn't gotten better at all. And this is a result-oriented business. So, yes, you can take injuries into account and all of that stuff, but this defense has not gotten better. This defense was historically bad in the run game. Historically bad. This was the worst run defense of the modern era of the NFL, the Super Bowl era. Take that into account, the Super Bowl era of the NFL, right? 5 yards per carry. No other defense has done that. Even bad defenses, right? You look at bad teams. Think about some of the bad teams that you have known over your lifetime, right? There's been bad Detroit Lions teams. There's been bad Cincinnati Bengals teams, the Bungles. Remember the Bungles? Who else are you looking at? There's been bad Buffalo Bills. None of those bad teams gave up as many rushing yards or an average that the Chargers did. None of them did. So, yes, this defense is not good. This is not good. This is an overpaid. All these guys make pretty damn good money. And this is one of the worst defensive units in the league statistically. They cannot get off the field on third down. They were terrible at that. Terrible at last year. They improved a little bit in that 4-game stretch, but they didn't play anybody good. They went up against Ryan Tannehill, Nick Foles, Baker Mayfield, right, in that little 4-game stretch, and Tua Tagovailoa when he was awful. So they didn't really play against anybody great, So, I mean, you get credit for what you do defensively, right, against no matter who it is you play against. But when you compare that to what happened week 18, they didn't stop Russell Wilson in that terrible, terrible, putrid Denver Broncos offense. Even though they played the starters, they got nothing done. They gave up a bunch of rush yards again. They didn't stop him, didn't get off the field on third down. Then you parlay that into the playoff game, and what happened in the second half, they didn't get off the field on third down. They couldn't stop anybody. So, yes, Brandon Staley has ruined this team. This defense wasn't as bad when Gus Bradley was the coordinator, right? It wasn't anything to write home about, but this defense was not as bad statistically. They were able to stop the run better, and they were able to get off the field on third downs too. So when you look at this, yes, this defense, specifically this defense, has gotten a lot worse. Now, offensively, you still have Mike, you still have Keenan, you have Justin Herbert, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Offense, it doesn't matter who really the coordinator is. Now, obviously, Joe Lombardi, he did some sabotaging last year, but the Chargers' offense was still okay in spots, right? So sometimes, you know, sometimes when they needed to be, they were okay, right? Sometimes, just sometimes. But defensively, they have not really been good at all, especially against good units, good offensive units. They don't get any stops. They don't get any stops. The thing to write home about with Brandon Staley is that we almost beat the Chiefs twice. That's we don't actually beat them. We almost beat them. We almost beat the Chiefs twice a year. That's the saving grace to Brandon Staley. Oh, we almost beat the Chiefs. We almost beat Patrick Mahomes, but we don't do it. We don't beat them. We don't beat them. We beat them once. So I mean, to me, a lot of fans were really holding on to that as like, oh, well, at least we're good against the Chiefs. We play them close, but we still lose. What the hell does it matter? What the hell does it matter at all? And then you look at the past 2 home games against the Chiefs, the Chargers lost on the same exact shit 2 times in a row, 2 years in a row. Travis Kelce, one-on-one, not being pressed off the line in 2021. 2022, Travis Kelce, not being pressed off the line, man coverage, 2022. So that's what Brandon Staley has done. Yeah, he has ruined this team. This team, everything, all their successes last year, number 10. That's number 10. That's what you have when you have a great quarterback. It's number 10. Brandon Staley has not helped him at all. This defense doesn't get off the field. They're terrible on third down. They cannot get off the field on third down. They can't stop the run. What good has he done here? You tell me what good has he done? These are all facts. And this is not how I feel emotionally. This is not how I personally feel. This is all facts. These are all facts. Brandon Staley hasn't really done anything with this team. He hasn't done anything with this team. So again, 35 games. We've seen him defensively. He's not good. He's not a good defensive coach. And it is what it is. It is what it is. You can be a fan of him and all this stuff, but facts are not to be argued and things like that. You can feel how you want to feel, but facts are facts. And this defense was not good. It has not gotten better under Staley. Hey, it is what it is. It is what it is. So why wouldn't you want a defensive tackle? What is another defensive tackle going to do? And how is this rookie defensive tackle going to get on the field, right? You have Sebastian Joseph-Day. The Chargers just re-signed Morgan Fox, right? Morgan Fox is a guy he can jump inside and outside. They still have Austin Johnson. He's under contract, right? He got hurt. He got injured last year. So that's 3 guys. That's 3 tackles. And then Otito, the rookie, the 4th-round pick from last year as well, too. That's 4 defensive tackles. So drafting a defensive tackle would add 5. Now you have 5 defensive tackles. What do you need 5 defensive tackles for? And 3 of them are getting paid good damn money. So, like, what? To me, it just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. You need to diversify. The Chargers can use a receiver. They can use an edge player, right? You can't have 5 defensive tackles and 2 edges because that's what the Chargers have now is 2 edges. And I'm not counting Chris Rumph because he hasn't done anything, right? It's been 2 years. He hasn't done anything. He's a 5th-round pick for a reason. He's a 5th-round pick type of talent. So how do you improve when you have all these defensive tackles there? To me, it doesn't make any sense. And of all these defensive tackles, none of them shut the run down last year, right? Morgan Fox was decent against Joseph-Day was okay against it as well, too. But none of these guys, the Chargers still gave up a bunch of rushing yards. They still gave up a bunch of rushing yards to bad teams last year, too. So why keep going? Why go to the defensive tackle? To me, it just doesn't make any sense. Unless you're going to cut one of those guys, it doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't. You need depth at the position. You don't need a 1st-round pick. So to me, it doesn't make sense to draft a defensive tackle. That's not something that you want to do. And Ricky, I think Matt got tired towards the end of the season because of consistent double teams. Because now that is actually a false. That's a narrative going around Chargers Twitter that Khalil Mack was double teamed last year, and it's not true. I watched the tape. It's not true. It's not true. Khalil Mack was not double teamed after Joey Bosa went down. It's not true. Khalil Mack slowed down. He declined. He's not the same player. He's just not the same player. Go back and if any of you guys have NFL Plus, right? That's where you can watch all of the tape. Watch all of the tape. Go watch the tape of Khalil Mack against the Colts, right? Because the Colts offensive line, that was the worst offensive line that the Chargers faced all season long. The Colts, Nick Foles, go watch that tape. They single covered Khalil Mack all game long, and he had one sack that game. He had one sack. That was one of his 5 sacks over the past 16 games. Go watch that game. He had one sack that game, and you can't even really credit it to Nick. To the offensive line. Nick Foles held onto the ball too long, and he should have threw it away. He should have, there was a chance to get rid of it, but it was pretty much a coverage sack. So Khalil Mack just didn't outright beat the tackle, right? He just was relentless and kept going, and he got the sack. But they covered him with one tackle all game long. And the Colts have pretty bad tackles. Left and right tackles were not good all season long. Matt Ryan, what's the other kid? Sam Ellinger. The Colts played 3 different quarterbacks last year for a reason. They were getting hit. Their quarterbacks were getting hit because their tackles were pretty much revolving doors. They did a damn good job against Khalil Mack. So if you have the worst offensive line in the league, right? The worst, very worst offensive line in the league. And I think Pro Football Focus said that they were the worst offensive line in the league. If they're able to single block Khalil Mack, no, he's not the same. He's just not the same, right? Oakland Raiders, Chicago Bears, Khalil Mack would have ate that up. He would have had 4 sacks that game. He only had 1. He's not the same. Khalil Mack did not get double teamed. This is a narrative that I've seen, and I seen this pretty much, since the season ended. So I went back and I watched tape, of several games. And to me, the one that stands out the most is the Colts game, because that was the worst offensive line. So I said, let me see what the worst offensive line in the league did against Khalil Mack. And they single covered him all game. They blocked him, the tackles, right and left tackle. They did a decent job on him. And that's, to me, that's a guy that's declining. That's a guy that is going all pro. All pro, you got to remember, right? He was all pro as a linebacker and a defensive end when he first came into the league with the Raiders, right? Because he was so good at ball. He was everywhere, right? From being an all pro at 2 positions to being, pretty much almost shut down by the worst offensive line in the league. That's a decline. People have to understand this. I know people love big names, but look at it objectively. He declined. He's declined physically. He's not the same. And I don't even think he's going to have 8 sacks next year, to be honest with you, because what I seen on tape, that's not good. It's just not great stuff. His moves are not as powerful as they used to be. His first step is not what it used to be. Guys have a good time. They have a pretty okay time blocking him, right? His bend isn't where it used to be as well, too. He's standing up straight a lot. He used to have that bend, right? That Von Miller thing where he can get low, kind of get underneath the tackles, do that little dip thing. He doesn't really do that anymore. He starts standing straight up. And Khalil Mack rushing you straight up like that, right? Most of the time, if you're playing a decent tackle, a team with a decent offensive line, you're going to be able to handle that. It is what it is. It is what it is. He's declined. People have to understand this. Understand that this man has declined. Watch it on tape. Don't listen to anything, though. He was not being double teamed. He was not being double teamed. This is false. This is a false narrative. He is just declining physically. It is what it is. It is, we just have to accept it. He's declining physically. This is not, it's not a fact. Hopes of him going into 2023. I just don't, because I watched it on tape and I've seen, and I went back to look at injury reports. He wasn't injured. Now, Khalil Mack, he took every single during this season, right? Every Wednesday off, he didn't practice, right? He was just treatment on his body. It's what it is. You guys got to watch the tape. He's not the same player that he used to be. He's just not. He's not the same player. Let's see. Because our D tackles are getting double teamed and our linebackers are trash. But so you don't. If you drafted a defensive tackle, you're drafting another guy to get double teamed. This is actually a point that I want to go into. I'm gonna finish this live stream by saying, so the Chargers. Let's see here. Let me get He stayed because Staley has a love affair with him, like you say. Yeah, and he does. And a lot of people can't let this go. A lot of Charger fans have to let this go. You hear the name Khalil Mack. It ain't the same. It's not the same. I know we have our athletes. I know we have our favorite athletes, but we got to let it go. We when they start declining physically, man, you got to let it go. You just have to. You have to let it go. Kobe, when he came back from the Achilles injury, I was like, man, he ain't the same. He's not the same. I'm still a fan of him, but we can't put him up there with LeBron no more, right? We can't put him up there with LeBron. We can't put him up there with KD. We can't put him up there no more. The name Kobe Bryant rings everywhere, right? It rings everywhere. But when you're looking at him and when you're evaluating him from that standpoint, he wasn't the same. And Kobe Bryant was never the same. He was never the same on the floor. And that's fine. And that's okay. It's perfectly okay. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. It's just what happens. That's just what happens. It takes a physical toll on your body when you play sports like this, especially football. This is a gladiator sport. I know the name Khalil Mack rings. It rings bells in football circles. But when you watch him, he just wasn't the same. He wasn't the same. He just wasn't the same. He wasn't the same. And again, it's fine. It's perfectly fine, right? I don't hate Khalil Mack or whatever. I'm a fan of him. I'm gonna continue to be a fan of him. But to sit here and act like he is the same Khalil Mack that he was when he first got to Chicago after that trade, or he's the same Khalil Mack that he was in Oakland when he came in with the Raiders, not true. Not true at all. Not true at all. He's just not the same. And it's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But teams get in trouble when they start pretending like these players are the same players that they used to be. He's not. He's not. And the Chargers should learn the lesson from the Lakers here, because remember when Kobe got injured. Remember Kobe got injured and the Lakers gave him all that money. They gave him a 2-year extension at the max at the time. And the max salary at the time in the NBA, I think it was like 25 or 27 million. They gave Kobe that money not for what he was going to do. They gave him that money for what he did. So this is what the Chargers are doing now. This is a legacy check, right? They're giving Khalil Mack all this money for everything that he's done in the league, not for what he's doing for the Chargers and not for what he's going to do. All of this money that they're going to owe him next year in 2024 is for what he has done, right? It's a pat on the back for everything that he's done, because he's not going to do that same thing for the Chargers. And people need to understand this. This is what happens when you get the older star players. You got to start moving off of them. You have to. This is why Belichick is the greatest. People will always wonder why Belichick is the greatest, because Belichick doesn't have man crushes on nobody, right? People, you can say whatever you want to about Belichick. You can call him an asshole. You can say that he is not a player coach or whatever, this and that. One thing Belichick does, though, Belichick can evaluate you. He can evaluate a player without having any bias going one way or another. He can say, okay, yeah, I can use this guy. He can still play, or let me trade him. And that's what he's done his entire career. Remember, he traded Richard Seymour. Richard Seymour is a Hall of Famer. He's a Hall of Fame defensive end. He traded him. He traded him from New England to Oakland, the Oakland Raiders at the time, and got a couple of first-round picks for him. And one of those picks ended up being Sebastian Vollmer, and he was one of the linemen for 2 Super Bowls, right, protecting Brady. He got value out of that. He got value instead of just letting him sit there and get old and paying him a bunch of money. He let him go. He let him go, got value out of it, turned it into a Super Bowl offensive lineman, right? And he was pretty good. Sebastian Vollmer was pretty good for the Patriots, during their heyday. So he got value out of that. He flipped it. That's why Belichick is one of the greatest of all time. He doesn't get these man crushes. Staley has man crushes. He has man crushes. He can't help it. Man crush on Derwin James, man crush on Khalil Mack. That's why the Chargers are keeping him. They should have moved him. They should have moved off of him. They completely should have moved off of him. But hey, it is what it is. This is the way that the NFL has worked. Brandon Staley, all of his good talking and all that stuff, he's not going to buck the trends. You can't do that. You're not going to buck the trends. You're not going to come in and change things. Coaches, GMs, teams, right? They've done things for several decades, right? Things that have worked for several decades. Brandon Staley ain't going to change nothing. He ain't nobody. He don't got no power. He obviously can't coach a defense the way that we thought he could, right? So he's not going to come in and change anything just because you have guys that you like, just because you have big name guys. Nobody cares. The other team doesn't care when they come to SoFi Stadium on Sundays. They're going to run all over these big names. They don't give a shit. They don't care. Like, it's only in Charger circles where they're like, oh, well, we're Khalil Mack is back and Joey, but okay. And It doesn't matter. Other teams are not afraid of that. They know that the Chargers have an overpaid defense. They know that the Chargers are overvalued, right? I even still seen a power ranking that had the Chargers at like 7 or 8. Like, okay, like that's assuming that that's assuming that Khalil Mack is the old Khalil Mack. That's assuming that Joey Bosa's health is going to stay great, right? That's assuming that everybody on the team is going to play at their optimum level, which doesn't happen. And that's assuming that Brandon Staley knows what he's doing coaching defense. And we have 2 years. We have 2 years of tape. We have 2 years of proof to say that he doesn't, right? So I'm not expecting anything different. But to me, I think it's just an interesting thing how these narratives get passed around that, it's the Khalil Mack double team stuff. And like, these are all narratives. These guys are just not as good as we think they are right now. Obviously, we got some good players, but when you look at a Khalil Mack, he's not what he used to be. Even Joey Bosa is not what he used to be, right? He came back very, very late. So that it wasn't, you didn't have a lot of time to really evaluate him. I think he only played week 18 in Denver, and then he played the playoff game where he had that meltdown. So you only had 2 games to evaluate. You can't really make, a real evaluation from just those 2 games. So 2023, we'll see where Bosa is at too. Maybe he's breaking down physically as well too. He's a guy that's been injured. He's had several surgeries. He's been injured. He's had a ton of concussions in his career. He's not this, I don't think he's the same physically either. So you have to evaluate these guys year by year. When guys get older, when they play a physical position, right? When they've had a lot of injuries, you can't just assume that these guys are going to be the same. You just can't. You have to see. You have to wait and see. Have that wait and see approach. Same thing with J.C. Jackson coming back this year. Wait and see approach. We got to see what he looks like coming out of the injury. We'll see. We'll see. That's all I can say though. Just because a guy has done something in the NFL for a team or 2 teams doesn't mean that he's going to come over and automatically do it for this next team. It's just not plug and play. The NFL really isn't plug and play at all. Some guys are good in certain situations. Some guys are not. And you can't really explain it, but hey, it happens, and it is what it is, right? That just happens. Let's see. Devin McCourty is a Belichick man crush. Devin McCourty was good though. He just retired. Devin McCourty was good and he was productive. He was a productive player on a really good defense, a very productive player, and his body hadn't broken down. And he retired. He walked away from the game before Belichick could trade him or cut him. He was good. He was very, very good for Belichick. Very, very good. And he's not broken down, right? He produced. He was good. He was good in coverage. He obviously knows the defense like the back of his hand, right? Leadership, he provided all of those things, and he was good. And even up until last year, he was still good. So I don't. It's not just him having a crush. He understands if a guy can give him something, and Devin McCourty gave Belichick something every single season that he played, right? Devin McCourty didn't have a big drop off. He didn't. So it is what it is. But like I'm bringing up with Khalil Mack, we've seen a big drop off. And like I said, tape doesn't lie. So, you can feel however you want to feel, but tape doesn't lie. Devin McCourty was good. He was good on tape, good on the field, and good up until he retired, right? And he's not playing anymore. He retired. So yeah, that's not a man crush if you have a guy in who can give you something, right? And Devin McCourty better than any safety was he the best safety on the Patriots roster last year? Yes. Unequivocally, yes. Was Khalil Mack the best pass rusher on the Chargers defense this past season? Yeah, maybe. He didn't get injured, so possibly. We don't know. That could be argued, right? Because Joey Bosa was injured, and then Kyle Van Noy came on towards the end of the year as well, too. So there's question there. Devin McCourty gave Belichick a lot of value, and he gave him value all the way up until the last snap. So we can't say the same about some of these older, aging veterans that the Chargers have right now. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what's gonna happen in 2023. But as of right now, these guys are old, man. These guys are old. So hey, it is what it is. So I was gonna finish this live stream I don't know if you guys seen. Actually, here, let me wet my pipes here. Okay, so I don't know if you guys seen from last. No. It wasn't even last week. No, it was actually yesterday. I'm getting my wires crossed here a little bit. But yesterday, the Chargers let Troy Reader walk. Right now, Troy Reader was a backup linebacker for the Chargers last year. He did get into some games last season, in some duty. Right when Kenneth Murray was out. Couple of times, right? He was in some games, and he was a guy. He had a good year under Staley again with the Rams in 2020. So, what does this mean, right? Now, obviously, this is not a huge deal, right? This is one of the deals that nobody tweets about, right? People just look at it and kind of ignore it. But this is a big issue. This is a very big issue because now the Chargers are Eric Kendricks injury away from having an emergency situation at the linebacker position, inside linebacker position. Um, and this is somewhere you don't want to be. You don't want to be there. We've seen Kenneth Murray, right? We've seen 3 years of Kenneth Murray, and I was optimistic as hell about him even last year, and I was hoping that he would have a bounce back season. And he honestly didn't. He's not the answer. He's not the answer at the inside linebacker position. I think we know that. The Chargers did not pick up his 5th-year option as of yet. I don't think so. I haven't heard anything. So he's going to be a unrestricted free agent at the end of 2023. And again, the Chargers are Eric Kendricks injury away from having a disaster situation at linebacker, right? Having Kenneth Murray be your only available inside linebacker, right? Your only healthy starting caliber inside linebacker. That's not a place you want to be. That is not a place you want to be. And this is why I brought up Eric Kendricks, the signing, him being an older player. Older players are more injured, right? They're more injured. That's just what the trend has been. We have, how long has the NFL been around? 76, 77 years or whatever it's been. We have 77 years of data to know that older players are typically more injured, right? 77 years of data to know this, right? So this is not something that I'm just pulling out of nowhere, right? We have all this data to know that once players get older, they typically suffer more injuries because your body breaks down. There's only so much NFL that a body can take, right? There's only so much NFL. We know this. And I'm not saying that Eric Kendricks is going to get hurt. I hope he doesn't get hurt, but we know this. We know that older players typically get more injured. So, with that being said, right, the Chargers need to address this linebacker position. They need to address the linebacker position. And to me, this is another negative mark against Brandon Staley. And I criticize him a lot, and he deserves it. He honestly deserves it. He honestly deserves to be criticized a lot because this is a question that I pose to viewers, my listeners. Can you name a great defense that did not have excellent linebacker play? Excellent inside linebacker play? If you can, put it in the comments. If you can think of one, put it in my comments later on. But you cannot have a good defense. You cannot have a great defense without excellent inside linebacker play. Yes, and Fitness says he doesn't value the position much. And I don't know why. Because when you look at all of the great defensive minds in this league, inside linebacker play is always what you need to have a great defense. You can go back to the 70s, the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, now the modern era. You cannot have a great defense without above average linebacker play. It is what it is. You cannot have. I don't even have to go back that far. Look at the Super Bowl from this year. Look at the Chiefs. Nick Bolton, Willie Gay, 2 of the best linebackers in the league, right? 2 of the best young linebackers in the league. Both those guys are really, really good. Look at the Eagles. Kaiser White. Hey, that's a name that sounds familiar, right? And TJ Edwards just got a bag from Chicago. Just got a huge bag in Chicago. Free agency bag. You cannot have a good defense without above average linebacker play. This is why I believe Brandon Staley doesn't know what he's doing. because you cannot point out to me a great defense without a great linebacker on it. You just can't. You just can't. You just can't. And I get that Eric Kendricks has been very, very good, but again, there's a lot of questions. He struggled in this same scheme last year. Ed Donatel was the defensive coordinator in Minnesota last year before he got fired. They ran this same Fangio scheme. Eric Kendricks struggled in this. He struggled a little bit in coverage, right? Now, I know his tackling numbers were good, but he struggled a little bit in coverage. He struggled a little bit because he had a little bit of more responsibility in coverage, right? He had to take a step back instead of taking a step forward, which he was normally used to under Mike Zimmer. So when you look at the linebacker position, you have to have above average play from that. It can't even just be average. It has to be above average. That's what your linebackers need to be. They need to be above average. You need to be good at that inside linebacker position in order to consider your defense a good defense. Just to be a good defense, you have to have good, very, very good linebacker play. Right? Let's look across the league, right? Let's look at Cincinnati. Right, Cincinnati, I think that they have a good defense. They have one of the smartest defensive coordinators in the league, Lou Anarumo. Look at their linebackers. Jermaine Pratt, Logan Wilson, both those guys, really, really good. Good, very good linebacker play. Right, you can move across the league. Look at San Francisco, right? Obviously, Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw. We know that those guys are good. Very, very good inside linebacker play. You cannot build a good defense without above average linebacker play. You cannot devalue that position. You absolutely cannot. And this is my biggest issue with Staley. To me, he has the attitude that he's going to come in and change how things are done, change how things that Hall of Fame coaches have done for years and decades, right? He thinks that he can go around it and make a shortcut around it, and you can't. If you could shortcut this, somebody would have done it already, right? Staley wouldn't have been the first guy to take a shortcut. It would have been somebody else, somebody who's way smarter. You cannot devalue the linebacker position, right? Now, I'm not saying you have to go out and pay a guy a bunch of money. I'm not saying that. But when you have a Drew Tranquill, right, who seemed to be getting better, right? He played above average last year at the linebacker position. Kenneth Murray obviously was below average, right? You just cannot devalue it. You don't have to go out and pay a bunch of money. You don't have to overvalue it, but you have to value it. And to me, it seems like the Chargers are devaluing that position. That is what they are going to cut costs in order to get other things. And to me, you just can't do that. You can't do it. So what is the solution? The solution is to take somebody in the draft. You can take somebody in the draft. You can make a trade. There's solutions out there, but Brandon Staley has demonstrated to me that he does not. He might know the Fangio scheme, right? He might be able to draw all these, different coverages and stuff on the board. But if you don't know personnel, you have no chance. You can come up with the greatest scheme in the world. If you don't have personnel to run it, what does it mean? What does it mean? And from everything that I've been reading from the analytics nerds, they have told me and everybody else that Brandon Staley is one of the best game planners, defensive game planners in the league. I can't see it. Where's it at? Where's it at? Where's it? Does the best defensive game planner in the league, that's giving up 5 yards a carry, that's having the worst run defense of the modern Super Bowl era, that's what the best game planner in the league looks like? I mean, I don't know. I'm confused here. But to me, I am just, I don't know. I'm dumbfounded. I'm dumbfounded that Mr. Defensive Guru doesn't value one of the most important positions, linebacker. I don't get it. I don't get it. That is how you build. That's how you build a good defense. Linebacker, defensive tackle, linebacker, safety. That's how you build a good defense, right up the middle of the field. If you're not doing that, you don't have a good defense, and there's no way you can build one either. So, to me, man, I just don't understand. I just don't understand it. Again, the scheme doesn't look like it's working. Maybe it's the players. Maybe the players don't fit. But I just can't understand how the position gets devalued. You let Kaiser walk. You let Kaiser White go. You obviously let Drew Tranquill go. Eric Kendricks, right? His story is still, untold, right? It's still to be written this year. So I'm not going to, go out on the limb and say anything and, be a hot take artist. I'm not that, because Eric Kendricks, he could be very good for us this year. But the way that things are trending and this devaluing of the inside linebacker position, it's not going well. It's not going well. And good defenses do not do this. That's just all I'm saying. If you compare this to the good defenses, they don't do this. There's always above average inside linebacker play. And the Chargers got it from one guy last year, but he's not on the roster anymore. So, hey, we'll see what happens going forward with this. But that's my little diatribe that I had to go on, because it just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me. We need good linebackers. We need good linebackers. I know you can't hit. I know you can't headhunt anymore, but having a good linebacker, having a coach on the field, having a guy who understands your scheme, having a guy who can get guys lined up, right, who can pull guys aside and say, hey, you need to do this, this, and that. It matters. It still matters in the NFL. It still matters. It still matters. And you're not going to get around that. You're never going to get around that. You're never going to get there. You're never going to have a good defense without a guy who is at least a good linebacker, a good inside linebacker. You just can't have it. And if Eric Kendricks is not what he used to be, now we have a big issue on our hands. We would have an old aging Eric Kendricks and a Kenneth Murray, who has not performed up to expectation for the past 3 seasons. So, to me, I'm that's why I'm out on Staley. These personnel things, these are small things that people really don't talk about. But I'm looking at this, and I'm going back, and I'm on Wikipedia, and I'm looking at some of the best defenses that have ever played, and I'm going down what they look like, and every single one of them had above average linebacker play. So I don't know. I don't know what that means. Like I said, 2023 is still an untold story. We don't know. We'll see. Maybe some good stuff will happen. Maybe. I'm open for that possibility. I'm not closed-minded in this, but if you're trying to buck the trend and you think that that's going to work, the likelihood of that happening, the percentage of that happening is not good. And I thought Staley's supposed to be an analytics guy. How can me, in the spare room of my house, look at all of these great defenses and look at all of these great linebackers, and I'm looking at our roster and saying, we don't have any. Shouldn't this change? Isn't this like the one thing that every great defense has had, right? Maybe you've had, been okay up front on the defensive line. Maybe you've been okay at safety. Maybe you've been okay at cornerback. Every single one of these defenses has had a great linebacker, one, at least two sometimes. So I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what this means, but come on, man. Come on. It's just not it's just not where I want the Chargers to be. But like I said, I'm open-minded. I'm going to see where this leads. And all I can do is hope for the best. But I'm not liking this trend that is going on now. I really don't. Really, really don't. Let me get to some of these chats here. Fitness says, luckily we have Derwin, who's like a linebacker. Yeah. No, Derwin James is not a linebacker. He's not a linebacker. I see that all the time, and just like, and I know you said it in jest, and I know you're being sarcastic about it, but some people actually really think that Derwin James can play linebacker all season long, and he just can't. He's only 215 pounds. There's no way. Once you get engaged in blocks with offensive linemen, no chance. You're getting pancaked every single time. I don't even care if it's bad offensive lineman. You're getting pancaked. You're getting, even if Storm, you're getting pancaked. 215. You're 215. You're going up to engage with an offensive lineman who's 6'4", 6'5", 300 something pounds, much bigger than you, much stronger than you. Once they get a hold of you and they drive you to the ground, a wrap. There's no way they're playing linebacker. You got bigger. You got bigger. You need to be bigger. You got to be thicker. You have to be able to stand that, be able to engage with them, get off blocks, make plays. Derwin James is a safety. I don't want him playing a lot of linebacker. He can play in the box and come down and help stop the run. That's fine. But just lining him up at linebacker every game, multiple times, or I there's packages they can put in, and that would be great, right? To throw some defenses off. So if you want to match, if you want to get Derwin going a tight end close to the line of scrimmage, or you want him to stop a running back, right, going out for a route or something, right, running a wheel route out of the, that's fine, of course, but to just have like that and playing in the box, number one, you're gonna get him hurt, and then he ain't gonna be no good to nobody sitting down on the bench. So I mean, and then number two, this is what you have middle linebackers for. You can't just have this guy come down and play linebacker. No other team does this. No other team does this. So I mean, and again, other good defenses don't do this. So I don't know. To me, it's not ideal. Not ideal to me at all. But yeah, I get what you were saying. I know you were saying that in jest. So yeah. Let's see. Going forward on 4th and long is the game plan, boys. Let's get. Might be depending on how good or bad this defense is coming into 2023. So yeah. He sounded like Rex Ryan. I was sounding like Rex Ryan. Maybe I was. Maybe I was. But I mean, I'm just going off of everything that I have seen and all the research that I have done, and you guys can go do the research as well too. There's no good defenses without a good middle linebacker, above average middle linebacker, not just average, above average middle linebacker. So yeah, man, yeah. I seen this one earlier. What do you think about JC? I hope he bounces back. He looked good. He looked good on Instagram. I seen that video. He looked really good, but it's still a long road back for him. We're only in March now. What training camp is 4 months away, so he's got time. He's got a lot of time to really get his body right, really get that near. It's encouraging though, seeing his workout. So I think he has a chip on his shoulder. I think he wants to come out and really show who he is as a player. So I'm excited for him. Hopefully he just doesn't rush it. Hopefully he takes his time. But he'll be back. It looks like he'll be back playing at some point this year. I don't know if he starts the season off, but it looks like probably by mid-season, he can be back in the lineup. So yeah, I would like to see that. Let's see. Hopefully we hit on a good linebacker rookie this upcoming draft. They're gonna have to. They're gonna have to. There's no choice now, right? One injury and this whole thing is kaput. So we'll see. We'll see what happens, man. We'll see what happens. Let's see. Artie Coleman's, Staley's scheme is not it. Yes, I agree. I agree with that. And the Chiefs tore that scheme up in the Super Bowl too. So that's another thing that I'm worried about too. That Brandon Staley has to make some adjustments somehow. I think at some point I might do a video on here because I seen what the Chiefs were doing against the Eagles in the Super Bowl. When I watched the film back, they figured something out about the way that the Eagles were playing them, their deep zones. It was so elementary. Andy Reid seen it right away, and the Eagles didn't stop the Chiefs for the rest of the game after he seen that. It was very simple. He was in wide receivers in motion and got one side of the field unbalanced, and the Eagles were not able to handle it. It was so easy. Those throws were open. Mahomes was hitting those receivers, Kelsey, and it was simple. Staley has to make some adjustments, or else that's going to be us. That defense will be us next year against the Chiefs. Whenever we play them both times, there has to be some adjustments. But yeah, is it bad that I won't be mad if we go 3-14 next season? So Staley goes away. Hey, a lot of people feel like that. I don't think they have to be that bad for Staley to get fired. I think if it's another year like it was in 2022, I think the Chargers are going to say, yeah, you know what? We got Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore is going to be hot. He's going to have a lot of opportunities to become a head coach after 2023. His door, people are going to be beating his door down to become head, to get interviews, to become a head coach. At all the places they're going to fire their coaches, there's always 5 or 6 they're all going to want Kellen Moore. All of them. So the Chargers, they're going to have the first right of refusal because he's under contract with the Chargers now. So for him to be a coordinator and then hop into that head coaching position, that would be the most opportune thing for him because he wouldn't have to move to a new city. He wouldn't have to have a new quarterback, all of this type of stuff, right? He would know who he's working with, Herbert, and some of the younger guys. The offensive line is set, so he wouldn't have to worry about those type of issues. This would be an attractive head coaching opportunity for Kellen Moore. And because he's already in-house, I think the Chargers would be number one on his list. But if the Chargers mess around and they don't fire Brandon Staley, Kellen Moore is going to be out the door. So, yeah, we gotta. Like I said, I think they are a deep playoff run. A deep playoff run is the only thing that can save Staley and Telesco. If they don't have that, I think both those guys are gone. Honestly, especially with the cap looking the way that it does in 2024, both of those guys will be gone. Both of them. Let's see. So many haters on Staley. He gave the offense hella turnovers in the playoffs, and the offense was garbage. I think they fired the right guy. Just hope more. No, but those turnovers that the Chargers got were not a function of the defense. Those were just bad throws and bad decisions by Trevor Lawrence. If you go back and watch the tape, nothing that the Chargers did defensively really confused Trevor Lawrence. He was just bad. He was just bad. Outside of the interception, I think it was the first one to Drew Tranquill. Outside of that one, it was just poor decision making by Trevor Lawrence. He turned it around in the second half, but nothing the Chargers did really stop them. They were still moving the ball. They just turned the ball over a bunch. So they had a lot of possessions taken away from them, and the Chargers were able to build that lead. But it wasn't really a game plan thing. If you go back and watch the tape, Trevor Lawrence was shook. He seemed like he was nervous. He wasn't ready for that spotlight in the first half. Now, second half was a different story, but it wasn't too much of what was going on defensively. If you go back and watch that, if you go back and watch that tape, let's see. Would you prefer the Chargers to prioritize offense in this upcoming draft or defense, especially considering how deep the tight end class is going? Go wide receiver the first round and tight end in the second is intriguing, but I don't know. You know what? This is a really good question as well, too. This is why I was calling for the Chargers to kind of restart stuff, right? Getting rid of Khalil Mack, right? I definitely wanted that. I was kind of calling for that because I thought the Chargers should have pivoted to offense. I thought every move that they should have made this pivoted to offense. You have, when you look at the Chargers defense, they're outside of the edge position and now linebacker. That's a new issue that the Chargers have. But if they would have resigned Drew Tranquill, everything would have been okay. But outside of the edge position and outside of maybe free safety, everything else is pretty much set as far as the defense goes. Now, offensively, I would have tried to give Kellen Moore, once I knew that we were hiring Kellen Moore, I would have tried to give him as much flexibility with the offense as I possibly could have, right? So I would have put out the free agents to him, right? The list of free agents. Who do you think can work in your offense, right? Who do you want or whatever, right? Within reason, right? Obviously, the salary cap, we know all of this stuff, right? Give me a list of free agents. Give me a list of draft picks. Who do you want? Who do you think you can have success with, right? Start watching tape. Start, developing some ideas of who you might want and who you think can take this offense to the next level. That's what I would have did with Kellen Moore. Obviously, the Chargers didn't do that. It seems like they're going defense again to me. So I if you're going defense, you might as well just go in all the way at this point. Khalil Mack is back. They did the restructures and all of this stuff. They went out, they signed Eric Kendricks. So to me, if you're gonna, and it seems like Staley wants to go out the way that he wants to go out. If he is gonna go out, he wants to go out and he wants to continue to build this defense. So at this point right now, I'm just saying, hey, if this is what you're going to do, if this is how you want to possibly end your Chargers tenure, go ahead, get everybody that you need. But those same excuses that we had last year with injury and all of this type of stuff, all that shit goes out the window. All of it goes out the window. They've already hired a new head athletic trainer as well too. All of the excuses from last year has to go out the window, right? And you can get more of your guys, right? Remember, we need. I'll say that I need my guys. We need my guys, right? So get more of your guys. If this defense isn't a top 10 defense, if it's not a top 10 unit in the league, right? Now we know we have to pivot in a different direction. So I think the saving grace is having Kellen Moore in the building and having him as your head coach in waiting. If shit hits the fan this year, we know who is going to take over, right? That is a big, big thing. That lets the Chargers, lets ownership, that lets everybody sleep well at night, knowing that if this guy screws it up again, if it's a third year of Brandon Staley screwing this shit up, we have his successor waiting for us. So go ahead and build your defense out. Build your defense out. But once you're gone, we know that we're going to pivot to offense. Right, and that would be my thing. Because the Chargers didn't make these moves this year, they're going to go defense again. Whatever, fine. But just know, 2024, when Staley's gone, we have an offensive head coach, and we are going offense. Whatever we do defensively is going to be complementary to what we do offensively. We're going to go out. We're going to sign, some of the best free agents that we can, right? Some of the best weapons. We're going to look to draft weapons. We're going to look to have depth at the wide receiver position. We're going to look to have depth at the tight end position. We're going to do all of that, right? We're going to keep our offense intact. Our offensive line is intact. We're going to do everything that we can to put as much talent around number 10 as we can. That's where I would be, right, in 2024. But 2023, hey, they're going to build the defense out. They're going to continue. John Johnson is still on the radar. Okay, do what you got to do defensively, Staley. This is your last hurrah. So I'm okay with them building the defense out, to be honest with you. I really am. I'm okay with it right now because this is third time is a charm, right? Third year. If you can't get this defense to be a good unit, and we're not just decent, right? Because the Chargers are paying so much money on defense. They're paying so many guys on defense. This has to be a top 10 unit. Brandon Staley, if this is not a top 10 unit in the league this year, you're gone. You're gone. So that's it is what it is, right? Now you have to the offense is going to get better just because Kellen Moore is there. I don't think Brandon Staley, you can't give Brandon Staley credit for that. Kellen Moore is going to get this offense to where it needs to be, right? No matter who's on the roster. He's going to get this offense there just with his play calling and his creativity. So you let that cook, you let that simmer, but I would be dead set, laser focused on the defense, watching every single play. And if I'm saying nothing's changed, okay, you're out of here, more up. So that's where I would be. But I'm okay with them. I'm okay with them building this defense out. I really am. I'm okay with it for right now. Until it flames out, pretty much. I'm okay with it. I've come to terms with it. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with it, but I'm okay with them going defense in this draft and clearing the salary cap and making things nice and fresh for Kellen Moore when he takes over, because that's ultimately what I think is going to happen. But hey, I could be wrong, and I hope I'm wrong. But yeah, that's where I would be if I was the GM or the owner or whatever. So, I see this. Yeah, we don't need. I agree. I 100% agree. G Bear. We don't need a defensive head coach. Even Belichick is struggling in today's league. 100%. Yep, he can't stop Josh Allen. Can't stop Josh Allen, and he hasn't been able to for the past 3 or 4 years, right? So I agree. I 100% agree. 100%. Let's see. Trying to catch up here with all of these before I end this stream. But see, I get why organizationally it's stupid to let go of a drafted linebacker on an upward trend, but still, if we're going all in, the Kendricks move is consistent. Yeah, and I agree with that. I agree with that. I laid out my concerns with it, but I agree. I 100% agree with what you're saying, and that's what seems to be going, and this is a true all-in season, right? Last year was kind of all in. This is truly all in because jobs are on the line this year, and we know it for sure. So I agree. I agree with that. That's exactly what happened. So it is what it is. But like I said, the signing, the Kendrick signing, all of the stuff that happened, right? All of the restructures on defense, bringing Staley's guys back, it throws all of the excuses out of the window. In year 3, there's no more. There's no more excuses. If you're a good defensive coach, you're going to have a good defense by year 3, especially when the organization spends all the money that you want them to spend on that unit. You're going to have a good defense if you're a good defensive coach. He doesn't have it yet because he's probably not a good defensive coach. So that's where I'm at with that. But I agree with your statement there. Let's see. Oh, super chat for G Bear. Thank you, man. Thank you. My main question for you: what offensive scheme style would you want for Justin Herbert if you could choose, versus what you think will happen? You know what? I actually like the scheme that Kellen Moore runs, and I think that is perfect for Herbert because it presents the defense with a lot that they have to defend. Not only do they have to defend the length of the field, right? Especially if you have a true, real speed threat, a guy that can get downfield, take the top off of defense. Not only do you have to defend this way, but you have to defend that way too with the Kellen Moore offense. And I brought it up earlier, right? The way that they use and develop Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard was a 4th-round pick out of Memphis, right? He was a guy that was just going to come up and take a few carries away from Ezekiel Elliott. He wasn't pegged to be what he is now. They franchised him. They didn't want to let him go, and that was a good decision. The guy's explosive, and they developed him into a weapon, right? Not just in the running game, but in the passing game and in the wide zone game too, as well. He can break it, and I think most of his runs have been from that wide zone off the left side when Tyron Smith has been playing the left tackle. I'm excited about what he can do. I think if Ekeler stays, Ekeler can have the same type of impact. He's not the athlete that Tony Pollard is, but he can have the same type of impact because Rashawn Slater's coming back to hold down that left side. That's where most of the action is going to happen in the run game. Right there off that left side. It's going to happen off the left side. That's what it did. That's what Kellen Moore did in Dallas with Tyron Smith when he was healthy, when he was playing. A lot of good stuff happens off that left side in the running game, and even trick plays like the jet sweeps and stuff like that. It always happens on the left side. He always runs to the strength of the offensive line. And to me, I like that. And I like how his scheme comprises a lot of different things, right? There is some stuff in there. There's like some West Coast stuff in there, right? Some of the shorter routes, and not just stick routes like Lombardi, but there is some stuff in there, the shorter routes. That's what Dalton Schultz, he succeeded in last year. Actually, 2021, he had a better year. But he has some West Coast stuff in there. He had a lot of intermediate, and for her really is at his strength, right? Intermediate down the field. That's Mike Williams, Keenan Allen. They're going to have big years if they stay healthy in this too. But I think he presents a lot of pressure on defenses down the field. You can't really bring a safety up when you play against Kellen Moore. You can if you want to, but he's going to hit you down the field. He's going to hit you down the field, and they're going to take shots, and they're going to be aggressive. So you can bring that safety up if you want to. Now, if you leave that safety back, they'll run the ball. And Kellen Moore runs the ball. He is a guy that runs the ball. He doesn't abandon the run. He will run the shit out the ball. And I love that about him. So he really attacks you from both areas. It's not just Justin Herbert or nothing, right? He can hit you with a bunch of different things, right? The diversity of the offense, you can go down the field, you can get a big play, right? It can be a 3-play drive, or he can hit you with a 10, 11-play drive, right? Running the ball 7, 8 times, play action, all of that stuff, right? He can do a lot of different things. His offense incorporates a lot of different philosophies, right? West Coast, some of the Air Coryell stuff, right? His offense incorporates a lot. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm really, really looking forward to that. And then I think he does a few things like kind of like Shanahan does in the run game as well too. He starts tricking you, start tricking your eyes, and if you don't read your keys, big plays in the run game. even for Herbert as well, too, as the quarterback running the ball. So I like what he does offensively. I think he's a very, very good offensive mind. I like how he incorporates. I love how he continues to change the offense depending on who the personnel is. He's not just going to go out and run the same plays with different personnel. He's going to change it up. I like what he does. I like Kellen Moore, and he has gotten better every single year he's been in the league. So I like him. I like the style of offense they're in now, and I don't even know what you would classify his scheme as. I don't, I don't know. I don't think it's not West Coast. It's not one thing. He does several different things, very well. So it's kind of a mishmash of what his scheme is. But his scheme is to get players open, get your talented players open, and continue to run the ball and put pressure and salt the clock away. So I like it. I like the scheme that he's in. I like the scheme that he's running right now. So that's what I love about him. That's what I love about Kellen Moore. And I think this is the perfect team for Herbert. And I think Herbert's going to have a huge year. I think he's going to be back in the MVP discussion. He will be. He will be. He's going to have a very, very good 2023. I predict that. No matter how this season shakes out, he's going to have a very, very strong season. And I'm looking forward to it. Definitely looking forward to it. Let's see. I'm trying to catch up here. I'm gonna end this here pretty soon. What's it been? It's almost been 2 hours. Yeah, it's almost been 2 hours. I'm gonna go ahead and try to get a few more on here, and then I'm gonna go ahead and end it here. Chargers Super Bowl 58 champs. Shit, I hope so. I will get as drunk as I've ever been if that happens. If the Chargers win Super Bowl 58, I will get stupid wasted. Just like how I did when I was younger. In my early 20s. I'll get wasted. I'll get dumb wasted. But unless that happens, I don't I don't think I'm gonna get that drunk. So hopefully they have Herbert run a bit more. He has super underrated legs. Yeah, I agree. Man. I agree. And I think Kellen Moore will, and he has stuff built into the offense, right? He has those naked bootlegs that those are going to be there, right? Those are not necessarily called run plays for Herbert, but those are going to be there. He's going to be able to gain a significant amount of yardage, go out of bounds or slide and protect himself, right? They're not Josh Allen run plays. They're not dives. They're not counters for the quarterback where he can come in and get popped. These are real easy plays where he can, not take a hit, but they can still gain a lot of yards. So he has a lot of that in his playbook. He did that with Dak Prescott a lot. So I'm looking forward to watching Herbert do it because he's a better athlete than Dak, right? He's bigger, he's faster, he can do all of that. So I'm looking forward to that. Definitely looking forward to it. But yeah, so yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and oh wow, I got another super chat here. MV Talent, thank you so much for the super chat. Mad Salty, I was putting down my son. Gotta rewatch. Yeah. Hey, but just like I said earlier, this is going to be available. The audio version, just audio only. I'm gonna upload that as soon as I can here on YouTube, and then I'm gonna upload it to Spotify as well too. My Pigskin Addicts podcast is now available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So you'll have the opportunity to listen to it there without the video as well too. And if there is like any lag or anything on your part while you're watching this video, that's not going to be there with the audio only. So that's another positive of that. So yeah, it will be available as soon as I can get this, going. As soon as the video uploads, it's going to be available. So yeah, it's coming. So I'm gonna be doing more live streams like this, and I'm gonna make these videos available to you guys in the audio only form if you don't want to watch my ugly face, which is perfectly fine with me. So yeah, definitely check that out. Check it out. I'm gonna have it up pretty soon, or you can just rewatch the stream. It's gonna upload here pretty soon once I get done. So thank you for the super chat, man. Appreciate it. Really appreciate it. Spotify now, but thank you. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's I definitely trying to build this out a little more. Like I said, I'm a one-man team, but I'm starting to branch out a little bit more. So it's definitely exciting. Definitely excited. I can't wait for you guys to consume it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. If you're at work, you can't watch the video, whatever, on YouTube, yeah, you can catch it there. So I want to make it more available, so I can get more engagement, more listens, and things like that. So love it, definitely love it. Oh, it's a good question right here. Do you think Dak limited Moore's play calling? No, I don't think so. Not especially not this year. He really opened up the playbook. Dak just made a lot of bad throws, a lot of bad decisions. That's something that Herbert doesn't do. So I don't think he limited his play calling, but I think this same play calling is going to look so much better with a quarterback like Herbert. He can make all of the throws. There's not a single throw that he can't make, from 3 yards to 60 yards on the field. He can make every single. So this offense is going to look so much better with a quarterback like Herbert with a generational talent. So yeah, I don't think he limited his play calling, but he didn't do it like Herbert can. So yeah. What did this one say? Do you think Staley is really that bad defensively? The numbers say that he is. One of the major keys. And obviously, I went over the run game, right? And that's something that I talk about all the time. But when you look at third down stats, the Chargers could not get off the field on third down. They at one point this season, they were almost giving up third down conversions at a 50% rate. That's awful. That's terrible, right? When you go and you look at some of the best defenses that have, ever graced the NFL field, they get off the field on third downs, right? 3 and outs are a constant staple. They force 3 and outs. That's something the Chargers didn't do last year or in 2021. So when you look at that, look at third down conversion percentage. What is your defense giving up? That hasn't been good since Staley has been there. That is a telltale sign that you don't have a great defensive coordinator or a great defense. And we know that they have talented players. So I'm looking at Staley. So we've had 35 games to see this. And if it continues again in 2023, to me, you can write it home. He's just not a good defensive coach. So look at that. Look at the third down percentage given up. And if you look at that and you see that right away from everything else, away from all the other stats, you can see that this defense isn't good. They don't get teams off the field. They don't force punts. And, that's one of the keys. That's one of the telltale signs is third down percentage. What does RD say? I know you've seen my comment. What comment? Let's see. There's a bunch of comments in here. So what other comment did you say? We got to win. Oh, this one, we got to win the bowl in the Raider Stadium. Have they fans 6 days? Oh yeah, they would still be hating too. They if that happened, they would still be hating. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. All I know is that defense. If the defense ain't good, we ain't going nowhere near the Super Bowl. The Chargers will be watching it at home just like we will. So, yeah. So yeah, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and end it now. It's almost at 2 hours. I got to go back and be a husband and a father right now. So that's what I'm gonna go do. Take a break and hang out with you guys. But I really appreciate it. Shout out to everybody who engaged and watched tonight. I really appreciate you guys. I'm gonna be doing this a lot more. So I want to get better at this. I want to get my live stream vocal cords back. I feel like they're giving out at some point, but I'm gonna continue doing this, and I'm gonna continue, trying to pump this podcast out here. So I like this format, and thank you guys so much. Really appreciate it. Shout out to all you guys. Liam Harris, thank you so much. Blaine Thompson, thank you. G Bear, thank you. Everybody who has commented, left a super chat, I really appreciate it. Can't thank you guys enough. But yeah, I'll be doing this a lot more. So stay tuned. Any news that's coming out, whatever. If something drops, I'll try to make a video, before I get going and stuff in the morning time or whatever. If anything happens, any news breaks overnight, I'll try to get to it as quickly as I can. But yeah, probably be doing this a couple times a week. So yeah, get used to it. Pigskin Addicts podcast, available Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Take a look, enjoy. There's only one episode right now, but this is going to be the second episode that I upload on there. So yeah, can't wait for you guys to enjoy. Let's see, original one. New father here too, man. Congratulations. It ain't easy, but it's definitely motivation. Yes, sir. Congratulations, original one. New father. Yes. Yes. Love the children, and yeah, man. Yeah, we fatherhood is hard work, but it's definitely worth it. It's rewarding. Love seeing the smiles on my girls' faces, and yeah, it's rewarding. There's nothing like it. Nothing like it at all. So yeah, congratulations to you, man. Really appreciate you. Shout out to you, man. You've been one of the OGs here, so appreciate you, and congratulations on your new fatherhood. But till next time, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and end it there, and yeah, until next time, I'll see you guys. This will be available though pretty soon on YouTube, and it'll be available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well. But until next time, appreciate you guys, and I'll see you next time.